it can be a family member?
Absolutely, yeah.
It can be a family member.
Family
also.
member, colleague, could be anyone who just knows that you're doing certain work and wanted to highlight you.
So this could be given to the recipient in any kind of work they have done, in any field, in anything. So
That's right,
then they decide who can get this.
And they don't, notify us of what their sort of judging criteria is, so you could be in any industry, and when you look at who the top 40 under 40 are this year, really there's people from all different walks of life. There's youngest would be 22 or 23 years old, I think she is. Yeah.
So is there any age limit for it?
So over the age of 18, and then you
Okay.
have to be under the age of 40
Okay.
when
Okay.
I think the nomination process is put in place.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Okay, so Fareen, welcome to the show. So, first of all, it's an honor for us to have you here, and especially you are so related to my
So related.
to my partner in crime as well for last 6 years. So first of all, when did you hear about Station? Was it because of her, or just you knew from someone, for your friend or something?
Yeah, I knew because of her. We tuned in. I actually tuned in a few times, one specifically a few months ago when
When she was absent? Yeah?
When what?
She was absent. No?
Yeah.
Okay, that's...
So I tuned in a few times. It's been good to hear the show.
No. Okay, so you of course, you are top 40 under 40. So this Avenue magazine, who are these people? Are they from Calgary or they are all over Canada?
The recipients of the award, or
No,
the
like the Avenue magazine itself.
so there's writers from all across
Okay.
Canada who will write, but most of them are located in Calgary because they're highlighting different restaurants and different events that are going on, lots of news relating to the city, and then every year they've started doing this, the top 40 under 40, where they sort of highlight lots of Calgary locals who are doing different things that are promoting sort of the city of Calgary and how to sort of benefit people and programs within the city.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't know what's going on behind you, behind the scene, your name will come up. You didn't know
I
anything?
knew that I'd been nominated and that I
Okay.
had submitted this long form, but
okay.
outside of that, they notify you a few months before the actual
Is that right,
magazine.
yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
so amazing.
So, I know I read about, of course I know other sources through other sources also, but your work, like you are in Washington DC, and you were because you are a Canadian, and you were doing your a residency there, right, in emergency. So what made you think about to do the curriculum for the residents in training in emergency? Like what inspired you, and what was it that you wanted to do that?
So I think in our day and age, and you can sort of see it in the room with all the technology that's in here. So technology has become such a big part of everyone's life, and it's also really started to take off in medical education. So students, medical students, residents, sort of everyone no longer looks at a textbook anymore.
Yeah.
They will just go online and Google a question that they have, and so we were concerned that when they're Googling things, they, like any other patient, may not be getting it from reputable sources, and so their knowledge base that's then going to be what they use in practice is potentially coming from not the best sources. So what we decided to do is, instead of doing more textbooks and more journals and things that our millennials are no longer reading or looking at, we did this online curriculum with the idea that this is sources that are sort of vetted. We've made sure that the content is proper. It's been referenced from journal articles or from magazines or from all of the places, the textbooks, and then it's sort of allowing the residents and medical students to then use this as their site to say, oh, this is where I should be going to get my information from.
Nice. That is amazing, because, and it's right, because when we get any information on Facebook or anywhere, we are not sure it's the right information, and especially with your field, and especially you're dealing with such critical cases, then the proper information has to be there.
Absolutely.
So I'm so happy that thing came to your mind, and you went into this field and started your curriculum on online training, right?
Yeah.
That is what it is, yeah. Yeah.
So you were in Washington, is that right?
So I did, so I'm born and raised in Calgary,
Mhm.
and then I went away for my undergrad, and then I didn't get into a Canadian medical school when I initially applied.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to go to medical school, had sort of known from very young that this is what I wanted to do. And so I applied and got into Saba University in the Caribbean. So
Okay.
you're there on the island in the Caribbean for your 2 years of in-class learning.
Yeah.
And then I was in New York for my 2 years of in the hospital training and everything that I was doing for medical school. And then I wanted to do emergency medicine. So
Wow.
I did a year of general surgery first at the Mayo Clinic, and then did my emergency medicine training in Washington, D.C.
Wow. So it's all about doctorship, eh? Like.
It's a long
Her is
path.
a she's a doctor, and of course, Dr. Taj, you know, one of the-
See, Taj wanted,
it was all planned from the beginning. You already go there. That's the plan.
see,
So I'm not trying to
none of his children became doctors, right?
Except
No, none, like my
yours.
children.
Yeah.
Like he really wanted that
Yeah,
at least one of them become a doctor.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
became.
yeah.
And then it was so nice that Alia's husband, he is also related to the medical field because he's a chiropractor.
Okay.
He went to 4 years of chiropractor
Mhm.
in the States.
Okay.
And then it was so nice that when Ali said that, you know, he was dating Fareen,
Yeah.
and then she turned out to be a medical doctor. And then you should have seen, my husband was so happy.
So
that,
at least someone is in medical.
yeah, in my family now there is, because he's so passionate talking about his,
Of course,
you know, like
yeah,
me
yeah.
and him, how much can we talk to
Okay,
each other about? So it's nice that we all are like, but sometimes, you know, Ali feels it. He feels out of place, like, I know what's going on. But that is,
He knows a lot.
you know,
Yeah, at least you worry about the food, eh, because it's going to be cooked for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, is
I'll
that
take
something?
care of it if he cuts himself, and then he gets the food. It's perfect.
Oh,
It's
you know,
a
he
good
will cut it
balance.
anyways.
okay, so this nomination, does it take place every month or every year?
So it's a once a year process. The next year's application is actually already open.
Yeah, I saw that.
So if
Wow,
there's
it's already
people,
open.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, if there's people in the audience who are listening who can think of someone in their family who they want to nominate,
Yeah.
they're sort of, the idea is that, you know, and their focus, because it's Avenue Calgary, is what are you sort of doing to help build Calgary and the legacy of Calgary and the city of Calgary, and to sort of help the people around you in Calgary to make the city itself a better place. So
Yeah.
when you sort of think about that, that's where all of the applicants and all the winners sort of
Wow.
went.
Well, so you know, when you found out, what was your like first reaction? Who found it first? Your dad, you, or mom?
So I actually got a phone call on my way to work.
Okay.
And when the phone call came, I actually thought they were asking me about a story relating to the emergency department.
Okay.
And so I thought they were asking for my opinion on a journal article. And she said,
Yeah.
no, I'm calling you because you've actually won.
Wow.
So I had no idea. So that was we sort of laughed about it on the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
And then the first person I called was Ali after that. So.
No, this is really good, and you know, like, it's so nice that so many young people are doing so many different things.
Yeah.
You know, like including you, 4 smiley people.
Yeah, this is the first time ever. First.
No. Yeah, first time.
First-
Yeah, but there have been previously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
First time 4.
First of 4 of them.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's amazing. Like, everybody has done such different work
Different.
in
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
field and has made a difference.
Yeah.
And that is very nice. And I think it is, and now more and more people will get inspired by it.
Mhm.
And then it's so nice that whatever work they are doing, and it will make a difference in a group of people, in a community or in a city. You know, this is what it is,
Mhm,
that to
mhm.
make a difference
Yeah.
in somebody's life. Yeah.
So you know, like our 4 viewers and listeners, you know, now you won. So of course, like, what's the next step, and what will you get the benefit? Like, you know, what are the benefits for?
So next steps, so one of the things I'll say is that the actual event itself, so they held a big gala in celebration, and one of the most special parts of it, and one of the benefits, as you're
Mhm.
sort of mentioning, is to get to meet all the 39
Right.
other such incredible people
Yeah.
that have done amazing work. And a lot of what happened that night itself was not only were you meeting them, but you were also building, oh, you do this kind of work, I'm really interested in trying to make women and men equal in medicine, and you're doing that in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Why don't we work together to do a lot of the same things? Because why would we reinvent the wheel? Why would we do things again in all of our different fields?
Yeah.
So a lot of it was the networking and sort of building of this great, powerful group of people who have all this work already done and trying to continue to better the other big next steps. So I'm doing my master's in medical education right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea would be the big area I'm looking at. So when I moved back to Calgary, it was a very big transition and very difficult to go from all of my training being in the States and the way that medicine is practiced in the US compared to back in Canada and then specifically in Calgary. And initially I thought that I was sort of the only one going through that transition because it was such a steep learning curve for me. And then I started talking to a lot of my colleagues and realized, the things I'm struggling with, it doesn't really matter if you did your training elsewhere or if you did your training here. Everyone who's first starting out and doesn't have the supervision that you usually had when you're in training goes through the same problems. So why are we not trying to make that easier? And as you talk to people in the business world, they have, a lot of them have, when they start a new job, they have a mentor that they sit down with and sort of help them through all of the transitions and the stages.
Right.
And we don't really have that in medicine. And so that's now the work that I'm starting to do, is trying to make that transition easier and better for those who are coming after us.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
So when you got the award and what the training you are doing online, so did you start getting any phone calls from people, and like what was the a next step it was after you got the award? What change it brought?
I think having been away from Calgary for so long, for 14 years of training, and finally being able to come back, it was the first time that the connections back to Calgary were starting to build even more. So a lot of people have reached out to say, we'd like you to sit on this committee, or we'd like you to join this, or for example, being able to come and speak at a radio station. These are opportunities I would never have had beforehand.
Wow. you know what will send you invoice. Then we'll be equal after, yeah?
But it's just, all of these sorts of opportunities have sort of come from it.
Yeah.
And it's
So
nice because you continue to build again in Calgary.
That's right. That's right.
Let me take you back a little bit,
Yeah.
like now, because now you are under 40, right, So I'm going to take you under 20.
Okay.
Okay, when you were growing up, so were you in Calgary?
I was, yeah.
Okay, so then how was your, were you attracted to, the medical, or you had other, kind of hobbies, or
So I remember when I was very young wanting to be in medicine, and the reason that I remember that is because I'm sure that there's some listeners who will remember this TV show, but Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Yes.
We used to watch it every Saturday together as a family, and she was one of the first female representatives on TV that I saw that made me say, she's a strong, independent, smart woman. She's making the world better for people around her. I want to be like her. And it was sort of the one example on TV that you really had of someone like that. And as a young girl, you don't have a lot of those kinds of examples back then. Now there's so many women doing incredible things.
Yes, true.
So I think that's sort of what initially inspired me. So sciences was always what I really enjoyed doing.
What about on the social sides? So singing, dancing. We just want to give our listeners the idea. Who's
I actually
Fareen?
used to sing a bit when I was younger.
You are still young. You can have 2 lines now.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, you can,
Yeah, so I used to
Bollywood,
sing.
Hollywood?
A little mix of both. I don't speak Hindi, which is what made it hard, but I learned a lot of the songs just by listening
But
to
you
them over
understand?
and over again. No, I can understand. She speaks so sweetly, I can understand. most
Oh,
of her
wait till I tell you the stories.
But I
nice.
can understand some of it, but I
Yeah.
can't speak it. So
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So I used to sing. I used to do a lot of, and I still do a lot of sports. So I'm quite active with sort of physical activities. So I played a lot of soccer and swimming and things
nice.
like that. So
Awesome,
yeah.
Yeah, you you want to be all rounder.
Exactly.
You have your time dividing like sports and all kinds of hobbies, and because you don't stuck with the work, just like we do all the time. Right? That's what I'm-
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, it's so nice, to come to know the person more.
Yeah, you want to inspire
Yeah,
others, right?
others,
Yeah,
like
that's
so
the whole
that
idea.
whoever,
That's the whole
whoever
idea.
is watching and listening to us, will also think about it. Okay, I know somebody that, can make a difference, and they will say, okay, now I can go and.
Yes, yes.
the
Because
application-
last time we had Miss Universe Canada, like all those people who were they were going for the competition. But it's all those stories, because we want to convey those stories to our new listeners, new viewers, because we need people from here as well, from a local, the one who
Yeah.
can be top 40
Yeah,
or 40,
why
top
not?
20, or why not the Miss Universe, right?
Yeah.
So that's the idea we have, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's what Avenue Magazine talks a lot about.
Exactly the
too.
same thing, yeah.
Right, they're really saying none of us are the 40 of us who won are not special. It's just that we were lucky enough to be nominated and then
Yeah.
chosen, but we're like anybody else in Calgary, putting our head down, working hard,
Yes, yeah.
giving back to the community, and there's thousands and thousands of people who do that every day who don't apply for the award and get recognized, but they're
Yeah.
still doing
Yeah,
that
still
work.
Doing that work.
Yeah.
True.
That's right, yeah. And they could be over 40 and they could be under 18, there are people who are doing
Incredible work.
incredible work,
Yeah.
yeah. But this is nice that they have, it sounds so nice, under 40, top 40, so it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you are one of the recipients and we are so proud of you. And anything you want to add, if it has made any kind of impact on you or on your around you, or if you want to add
Yeah.
something about it?
I think the biggest thing is when I think about how I ended up where I am now, I
Mhm.
think the biggest thing is that I didn't really allow no as an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So there were lots of no's along all the different steps that I took, especially, leaving, going as an international medical graduate and then coming back to Canada. There were lots of times when it seemed like I was never going to come back to Calgary, never get to practice here with my family.
Mhm.
And you sort of learn, okay, this door closes, now I need to force this other door open. And that would be the biggest thing, is not to give up when things seem really hard, because
Yeah.
things have been, they will continue to be hard, throughout my pathway and process. And I think the biggest thing is to say, okay, this was a tough day. I'm going to go to sleep tomorrow morning. I'm going to start again and try to figure out a different way to make this same dream happen. It just maybe isn't the path I was expecting myself to take.
Yeah.
But as long as the end point is where you're happy and you're satisfied, it doesn't really matter if it takes you a little longer or you take a different pathway than you were expecting to take.
So, but you always wanted to be in an emergency?
No, I thought I wanted to do pediatrics.
Yeah, like your sister, yeah?
Yeah, like my sister, and then I did my pediatric rotation and I said, no, this is not for
Not
me.
for
I
me.
like children, I like seeing them in the emergency department, but not in the clinic. So, yeah, and then I just sort of fell in love with how intense the emergency department is and the quick decisions that you have to make, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Amazing,
So even now
amazing.
the education is getting so expensive right now. Now the new government is saying they might all those shortcuts now. But being so now and more you take, it's not enough. Whatever you do, it's not enough for the education right now. So what do you want to tell to our our listeners and viewers?
What would you
So I mean, I think the first thing is making sure that you're not going into medicine for the wrong reason. So a lot of people will say, oh, but it's a very secure profession, you're gonna have a set income all the time. If you don't really love it and really want to do it, the number of years it takes to get there, the sacrifices you make along the way, you won't be able to make it because you're going into it for the wrong motivations or the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you truly are passionate and excited about, you want to be doing the work that you think that you're going to be doing, you find a way. There's scholarships, there's bursaries, there's lots of, especially here in Calgary at the University of Calgary, they've now started a new program straight out of that you can apply out of high school.
Mhm.
If you have a certain set of grades and your extracurricular activities are very well-rounded, but let's say your family income level is very low, you don't even think you have the money to go to university, let alone medical school or anything after that. There's some programs in place at the University of Calgary where you get funding for university
Mhm.
and for medical school within the pathway. And so there's a lot of those types of programs that are now starting to come in.
Yeah.
And the idea is trying to broaden the diversity
Diversity, yeah.
of the medical
Yeah.
student applications. It shouldn't just
Yeah.
be families who can afford, to put their kids through school. Everyone should have an opportunity. I mean, all of us at some point had parents who moved from other places
Yeah,
to move to
right.
Canada and saved every single penny to be able to put their kids through education. And we're at a place now, we're here because our parents made those
True.
sacrifices.
That's right. That's
Yeah, true. Perfect.
So
Well said.
you did all your medicine in United States. So do you ever think that you want to go back there?
I think to visit. I think
To
our medical
visit.
system is so good here that I don't
So
think.
you're better here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
People will complain about wait times and things like
Right.
that, but when you need the care, it's there.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
That's right.
never have to worry, and you don't have to worry, is the care there and do I have to pay for it?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm going to go,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
seen by my family doctor, I'm gonna get seen by the specialist. Maybe it takes a little bit longer than you want to get to
Mhm.
see the specialist, but you know it's there and you don't have to worry. I have these 10 medical problems, they're gonna ask me for this for my insurance, I have to pay for this, I have to pay for that. We're very, very
Very
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. In Canada, when I used to go visit my mom, like she was living with my brother. So I know what was happening there. For
Yeah.
every little thing, you had to think about.
And to not have to think about the
Think about,
financial
yeah.
side of it when you're getting medical care is
Yeah.
so different.
So different, no doubt.
Yeah, I think everyone can always say the grass seems like
Yeah.
it's greener on the other
yeah,
side.
Yeah.
Oh, but I can get this test or I can see the specialist tomorrow
Yeah.
versus having to wait months. But when you have to pay out of pocket and you don't have the money to do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
Then
and you don't get the care.
Care,
We
yeah.
saw that all the time in the States, that you would have people come to the emergency department literally dying because they couldn't afford a family doctor, they couldn't
Mhm.
afford care until it was the end, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't have that situation here.
Okay, there are so many people. There are so many people are watching. Thank you so much, including Shafeen, Sophia, Fareen, Hanif, Aftab, Hanif, Almur, Mina, Ashif Marani, and there are so many other people. Amir Jasani, Sol Raja, Brian Khan Saab. There are so many people are watching and listening, guys. Thank you so
everyone
much.
for watching us. Yeah, it's a very informative session we are having with Fareen Zaver. And if anybody you people know, please do nominate them, because we come to know so many people through this nomination
Yes, yes.
and through these awards. We come to know still there's so many people are doing such incredible work, so it's been amazing to have you and to get to know you more, other than me, everybody else. This is the most detailed
Yeah.
talk we have had
It's
about
here?
the award. About the award. Yeah, because and then
Okay, when you won, what did you get from Ali?
No.
If you can share with us.
Some beautiful flowers,
Yes.
and then we made a really nice dinner at home.
Oh,
So that was really nice. Yeah. Honestly, it was more so just the excitement that everyone had
course.
around. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Very
right,
nice,
yeah.
very nice.
It
Or,
was-
what about from her? What did you get?
Yeah.
They took us out for dinner.
We had a
She-
beautiful dinner with the whole family.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I did get some gifts as well. I just don't have to, it's more so about getting to
Yeah.
spend all that time
Yeah,
together.
no,
That's
it's
so
just,
special,
it's just
right?
on the fun side.
Yeah. of course.
So, now, if I ask you, where do you see yourself next 10, 15 years now?
So definitely still doing a lot of medical education. So I think
Mhm.
that's the big thing, is trying to make that part of medicine better. So making it easier for new doctors to be practicing. I think one of the big areas we've talked about a lot is the international medical graduates and trying to make the pathway,
Mm-hmm.
for Canadians
Yeah.
and for non-Canadians to be practicing here in Canada a little bit better as well. So the combination of both of those things.
Wow,
Great.
that's all.
Yeah, that's so nice, yeah. So what would be your last message to the your age group people? Like, what would you like to tell them?
I truly believe that hard work and putting your head down, you do receive and you do see benefits to the results. So, even when you feel that you're putting all this time in and maybe you're in a profession where you don't see the results right away. But if you keep working and you keep working and your intent is in the right place and you're working to make things better for other people and for yourself, you will get there.
Definitely, yeah.
Guys, we got some other people join us as well. Jisme Ashif, Davinder, Shalina, Naveen, Nazin, and speaking of Shalina, my brother Amiruddin and my Bhabi Shalina. So they have like today is their
Thank you.
31st
Oh,
anniversary.
happy anniversary to
Yeah,
both of you.
31st. Wow, thank you so much, and
Yeah.
all the best to you guys. All the praise for you guys go a long way. Ramaji,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's it
I
with
think,
Fareen.
Yeah, and inshallah we will get her again.
Best. Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to talk about the emergency ward itself.
Okay.
How everything goes when you are
that's
sick,
interesting.
you are in a rush, you are waiting for 4 hours outside. What do people go through? I want to get those like a psychological thing, what happened inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inside the emergency department.
Yeah.
I think, so the hard part is, of course, everyone is there and they're worried about their specific problem.
Yeah.
And when you see the wait times of 2 hours and then 5 hours later you
Yes.
still haven't seen the doctor
Right.
and you're saying, well, what are they doing? Are they sitting and
True.
talking
Yeah.
and, most of us don't pee during our shifts. We don't
Yeah.
get time to eat during our shifts. It's very busy.
Yeah.
And the reason those wait times get harder is because the sickest patients get seen first.
First,
So
yeah.
lots of times, if someone comes in with a heart attack or a stroke or things like that, they take a lot of our resources, and so there might be 2 doctors taking care of that really sick patient
Yeah.
at the same time, and then the wait times get longer, and it's horrible. We don't want to see patients have to wait 8,
Of
9
course.
hours
Yeah,
either,
yeah.
so the thing I always say is if you are waiting long, the good thing is it means you're safe.
Yeah.
That's right. They're still alive.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
True.
people get a little bit impatient.
Of course, yeah,
and
this is,
frustrated and all
And you're worried.
Yeah, and you're
Absolutely.
right. Yeah, and you've
Yeah.
been sitting there for a long time and all that.
Yeah.
So inshallah we'll talk more about it next time, but it was very nice of you to come in this weather. But thank God we didn't cancel it like
Yes,
we did
exactly.
last Tuesday.
She said, I don't want to cancel today. She said.
Yeah, I said that. I
Just
said,
kidding.
yeah, I know. I said we have to continue because every
Now,
time.
now the winter is here, so it's gonna happen
it's
every
going
week.
to
now.
happen. It was
Calgary.
really
Yeah.
it was really bad last
Yeah.
Tuesday. Then we didn't want to take any chances, and
Of
for the guests also, not to not to so are you happy? Are you okay? What kind of questions we asked you? I
Of
hope
course,
the-
this is my first radio experience, so thank you for letting me have that
You're
experience
more than
here.
welcome. You're more
Yeah.
than welcome, yeah. So it's nice to have you, and it's good to know from people who get nominations and get the awards, like what exactly happens and how do you feel about it and all those, there are so many little things like people don't know about it, and now, through you and through others, they found out like, yeah, a family member can nominate, and any field with good work is going on, they can nominate their friends, their family, anybody they know that person is, doing quietly their work and nobody knows about them, so it's good that this way,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah.
And thank you, Shalina, Hussein, Javed, Burhan Saab, Salim, Leila Fida. Thank you so much, everyone,
Everybody,
for
thank you
joining
so much.
us. Fareen, that was
Yeah, our-
amazing
yeah.
half hour. Thank you so much, and all the best to you.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll have not 4, maybe 6, 7 next time in the top 40. From our community,
Yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah,
huge. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, we'll just keep increasing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
yes.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll bring you back so we can have more inspiring people watching,
Perfect.
listening.
Thank you
so much.
again.
Thank you. We'll take
Guys,
some
yes,
photographs
we'll take a break for about 2-3 minutes. Our next guest for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Sufi night. Yeah, the guys are outside. Ansa and Yasuraja, they are outside. We're gonna talk about the Sufi night on December 27 at the Magnolia Banquet Hall. Presents by Burhan Khan, one and only. So there are so many people who are joining us right now. Wow, thank you so much, guys. Just keep on going. We'll be back in 2-3 minutes. We'll take some pictures with her. Then we'll be back. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz, Khuda Hafiz. Ya Ali Madad.
Let's
Okay.
taking
Guys, we'll
care
be
of
back. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
A little more.